All right, so it is 11 o'clock. I'll give a couple more minutes as people come into the Zoom session and we'll get started. All right, so I think it's time to get started. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you and welcome to coming to this session on creating an active learning environment with H5P. My name's LanceRoe and I'm the Integrations Instructional Technologist at Idaho State University. I've been at ISU, first getting involved in this field. Back in 2015, I was hired as a student employee. And then I really liked what we were doing here, helping faculty with technology and really leveraging that in the classroom. And so that helped guide me to, so in 2017, I was hired full-time as an instructional technologist and been working at Idaho State ever since, working with Moodle and different kinds of technology. My specific role at ISU as an integrations instructional technologist is I tend to manage all of the third-party tools that we have integrated into Moodle. So Zoom, Examity, Turnitin, H5P kind of on this list as well of things that I try and help and really help our faculty utilize in their online classes as well. So I'm really excited to talk about H5P and I know H5P is one of those that it's talked a lot in different conferences, and I'm hoping that I can, in this one, provide a little bit new perspective of how you can utilize this tool in your class. So for those of you, if you've come into this presentation and you're not sure exactly what H5P is, H5P stands for HTML5 package. And similar to other interactive content types like Flash, it's a way for you to create content type that your participants can engage. So you can kind of see I've got some examples here on the screen of that one with sequencing, and now we've got this image pairing. And all of these are things that you can create yourself. You don't need to know a ton of code or anything too complex to create this and have it work in your course. Just to kind of show the variety that is in H5P, here is just a list of most of what's on H5P, the different content types. So anything from just a simple accordion menu. You've also got fill in the blank type. And then of course you get even more complex with things like a virtual tour, branching scenario. So it has some of the most simple content types, and then you can go pretty complex and advanced. One of the things about H5P that I really like to talk about is really the benefits of it. And I've got those listed up on here. Is the great thing about H5P, it is an open source free platform, and it's built to be shared, right? So the other thing about H5P that I find fun is when I've got, content, and I'm looking for a way of how can I turn that content into an activity that helps the student be able to better understand what that content is. So being able to test their knowledge or present content in a new interactive way. You also get to take ownership of your content that you create. And I like to kind of have my portfolio of different activities. So one of the things I do is I've got a course where we talk about green screen, let's say, being able to create H5P activities that help explain that concept with chroma keying and why it is the way it is. And then anytime that topic comes up, I'm able to reuse and really add these mini lessons into the course. And then the great thing about H5P is you are creating content for you, by you. And so you have a lot of control of how that content's going to work. Rather than maybe relying on a publisher to create this content, you have some of that control with this. Now, as I've talked about, H5P is fairly popular, but when I go to presentations, usually it's this one mode of, let's teach you how to create your H5P, and then you kind of give that to your students for them to digest and take the information from. So just using Moodle as an example, you might have a book resource that you put together. And so H5P and Moodle allows you to have your content, and then you can easily embed your H5P content to coincide with your text. And so a book is a great example because, I mean, you're gathering this content together and then you can provide those activities for your learners. Now, what I'm suggesting, and one of the big points in this conference, is to kind of change that perspective a little bit. And rather than having the teacher publish your content, have the students help. And so then you start beginning this network of students who are also creating content for you and sharing it. So rather than you might have a couple of topics where you assign one student the water cycle, for example, and then another student's working on photosynthesis, being able to delegate that creativity to your students. And here's an example of what that might look like. So here in Moodle, I have a discussion form, and I just have it set up. So I've given the students the permissions they need to be able to utilize and add H5P in Moodle. So they have access to the content bank, they have access to the insert H5P button. And so as an example, this student can come into the discussion forum, start a new discussion, add in that content, and then because it's a discussion forum, our students are able to then talk about and comment. Another thing you can do in a discussion forum and a couple other activities, if I go back to the top level here of the form and go to permissions, I'm going to search for rate. I, as a teacher, can give students the ability to rate posts. So that opens it up where I might set up a scale of 1 to 5, and students are able to then provide feedback both in the comments, and then they're also able to rate their other users. And I just have it set up as an average of ratings. So that way, if you're getting the average of whatever the amount of students go to rate that individual's content. So it really opens up the door. And again, rather than you creating a single artifact on, say, the water cycle, you're now potentially delegating it where you've got, 20 versions of it, and then you can reuse the best ones or really reflect on what makes one better than the other. You can start having those conversations about learning and improving the situation. And so we'll kind of switch gears a little bit and talk really about how to get started with H5P, because there's a lot of different solutions out there, and one may not be the solution for you. So these are a couple that I found that have been helpful for different types of situations. So if you're getting started right off the bat, you'll want to check out h5p.org. This is going to be the free site. You can create a free account. And I do know that h5p.org is getting limited in what features it provides. Like in the past, it used to be, and you might still be able to do this now, but I know there's a warning. But some people would create their content on h5p.org because it was free, and then they would link or embed that content they created to another website. And really, H5P is for you to try it out. It's not a long-term storage solution because it may not always be there in the future. So I suggest a tool like Lumi Education. This is a free desktop application that you can get on your computer. Basically what it is just an H5P editor. So from there, you can create your own H5P right on your desktop. And then, if I created H5P on my website and then I shared my H5P file with you, you would be able to open that on your own computer using Lumi, and you could edit it or review it. And so that's very basic of what you need to know to get started with H5P, to test it. Those are some great resources there. And I've also made these clickable, and I will be sharing the slides later after this presentation. And so you'll be able to get access to some of these tools as well from the presentation. Now you could go the route of paid options. So like I said, while H5P is free open source, really the challenge is where to store it that it's usable. So the folks who manage h5p.com, where you can use to try and test things out, you also have h5p.com, which is a paid service where you can create and store your content. And then h5p.com and working with them, you can get an external tool or an LTI that allows you to easily integrate it with different LMS. So if you're using Blackboard, Brightspace, Canvas, Moodle, they all have an external tool that you can use that works with h5p.com. And again, that one is a paid service, and I forget exactly what the pay structure is for that one. Both WordPress and Pressbook are similar in the fact how they're set up. They all have their free versions, but if you go with a paid tier with either of those two platforms, you can add plugins, and there is an H5P plugin for WordPress and Pressbook. And so here's an example of what that might look like, since Idaho State just recently became a Pressbook school. So if I come into this book that I created, and it's just, typical text, but then if I come in here, I can, add videos. And then there's also the option for me to actually create and embed H5P in Pressbook and have it in the book itself. So that's another option as well. And one thing to note with this one is, just so you're aware, you can't create a Pressbook site, have it there, and then link this to another site. I don't think it works that well. I think in this scenario, it's all in the platform itself with the plugin for Pressbook and storing and creating those within the Pressbook platform. Question, so H5P is a Moodle activity. Do I need separate account on one of these services? So H5P is actually a third-party tool, and it just recently, and we're gonna get more into that in the next slide, but there is technically an H5P activity, and I'll kind of, because there's also a plugin and there's also integration. So that just jumps right into the integration options. So there is a H5P plugin that supports versions 2.7 and up. So this one, it acts very similar to, you've got an activity. Within that activity in Moodle, you create your H5P content, whatever that be, if it's the virtual tour or Agamotto or one of those. And then it's just stored on Moodle, and it's just an activity that students click on. Now, there is an internal integration version, and this is for Moodle 3.9 and above, that introduces the content bank. So going back to, I'll kind of showcase what that looks like a little bit. So going back to the course page, you're going to have in the navigation drawer a content bank here. And then this is where I can go and add and create my H5P. So I've got a couple examples in here already. And then what happens is you have two options that you can do. So for example, if I go into the Moodle book, I'm going to go and edit this page. I'm going to delete that. So I have the H5P button right here, browse repositories, content bank, and then I can choose those files that are located in Moodle. And I'm going to overwrite, insert, save changes. And so this is the embedding feature using that button. And then there's also an H5P activity that's a part of this integration as well. That this is kind of a placeholder, and then I can click here to then pick files from my content bank. Let's see, I think I do it through here, yeah. And then in this case, the H5P is its standalone activity, right? It's not embedded in a book, it's actually in as its standalone activity. Yeah, so the next question, so you can actually author the H5P within Moodle. Yes, with both the plugin and the internal integration, you can author H5P within Moodle. And that H5P is stored on your own Moodle. It's not being stored on an external or third-party site. It's all stored within Moodle. So that's what keeps it free too if you're using a Moodle integration. Let's see. Now, as I was developing this, one of the things I kind of ran into is, well, this is a Moodle conference, or we talk a lot about Moodle. I know last year, just given it, there's a lot of push to invite K-12 and other organizations to, be involved with this. And so a lot of those types of K-12 environments don't always have an LMS to work with. So I kind of had to challenge myself as if someone wanted to use H5P and they wanted to do it on the cheap, how else could they really benefit from H5P without needing to spend the money? So there is a self-hosted option that I researched and tried to gather resources and put those together. Basically, what I'm using is GitHub allows you to create a free repository, and then their GitHub pages turns that repository into a web page. And so I'll go ahead and kind of show you what that looks like. Again, this is very basic HTML that I'm using, so it's not a very pretty website at this point. And part of that was on purpose because I didn't want to add extra code. I wanted it to be bare bones of if this is something you're interested with self-hosting, that I feel like anyone with a little bit of investment of time and knowledge, can host their own H5P. So again, I've got this on a repository on GitHub, and then GitHub Pages is my web page. One of the things I noticed that by doing this process, some of the features, because like right in H5P itself, there is this embed button, but because of this method, some of those features don't work and right out of the box. So I just have a link to, here's the embed code that I need. I've got a note here that that's the URL I need, and then I can take any of these H5P that I have stored on this site, and I can plug them in anywhere. So I do have a blog that I was doing for a class, and this one's actually using a Weebly site. And as far as I remember, Weebly, especially at the time I was working on this, did not have a plugin for H5P, but I really wanted to use it because we were talking about open educational resources. And so if I scroll down here, here's one of my H5P activities. So I was able to have it stored on my self-hosted website, and then I can, again, embed that in a Weebly blog. I can take that link and put it in a Google Classroom. And so, well, I won't be able to really check and see, because I know like one of the things in Moodle is when you have it as an activity, you can see, you know, attempts, and you can actually have a student's grade from an H5P activity go into the Moodle gradebook. This case, I don't have any of that type. So I've tried to make sure that when I do this, these are definitely low stakes, formative, self-trying type activities, where by completing the activity, the student is just getting feedback. So I'll just fill in this. I probably didn't put it in correctly. So yeah, so I mean, in this case, that's my feedback right here. And there's no way that this is tied to a gradebook. And partly, I'll get into that story in a little bit later with the self-hosting, but it is doable. And again, I do have resources in my press book that are sharing, that I go kind of in depth of what you need and how you go about completing that resource. And so those are the wide-ranging different situations, because again, I wanted to really try and find a way that anyone who wanted to use H5P, there's a way for you to do it for your situation. Whether you have all the resources in the world or you're very limited, there's a way you can really enjoy utilizing H5P. So to go into depth, so part of because I was working on my master's degree, and so one of the things I was doing last year was I created a course kind of utilizing these things we've talked about. And so I'll kind of showcase that course to you now. So this is EDLT 6613, Developing Instructional Digital Formats. And so one of the big things about this, it's an authoring course, and the student body that's in this program are students, graduate students who are in an instructional design technology program. And so we really utilized H5P because of its ability to integrate with Moodle, having it be a free resource. Because there's so many different content types, it was a really great tool for the fact that as a student learning, like one of the things as a technologist is you have to be pretty quick on how to use software. And so H5P is great because it's like there's different content types. You're always learning how to utilize different content types for different situations. And so how we've got it set up, and it really starts in this week here, is basically, again, I've given students the permission to use H5P. And again, in the presentation, I talk about what those 13 permissions are. This is something that you can work with your admin as far as just enabling at the site-wide, creating a special role, or if you just want to do it at the course level, what you would do is go to the participants page. If I go to permissions, and then I'm going to switch it to just looking at the student role. Here are the 13 permissions that I have overridden to make sure students can use H5P. And that, of course, is listed out going back to this press book. And down here, I've listed and linked out to those specific permissions you need. There is one that requires an admin, but all the other ones the teacher can easily enable on their end. But ideally, how it works, if I go back to the course page, so basically, the kind of the format of this course is we use the discussion form, and then I will give typically the students a prompt of what they're doing for that week, that assignment. In this case, because we're talking about interactive graphic, I've chosen two H5P content types that are related to that. I do kind of give some prompts of their initial post and then how they review or reply to their peers. And then they'd have access to the content bank. They go in there, create their content. They can add their post and use the H5P button to post into the discussion forum and save it. And they do that for most of these activities in here. So again, week 2, we focus on interactive graphic. Week 3, module 3, we talk about interactive environments, where we talk about the virtual tour and also the branching scenario to get them involved in those. In the web unit, we actually give them a separate Moodle course. I call it the EDLT 6613 lab. And they all have the role of unlisted teacher. They all have their own topic, and they can create content within their week. And so they're building basically a little web unit, and they can use H5P in that course as well. Some of the things we got from this, because again, this was in a pilot form, so I really focused a lot on what were the students saying. And so here's a couple of those feedback that we received. And so we got things like, I really like the aspect of each person getting a page to edit and then share with their classmates. Also, learning about H5P is a cool tool and has a lot of great diverse applications. Then this is the thing that I liked most, because we do a lot of the same things, but because of the content type being so different from week to week, the lessons didn't feel repetitive, even though we were using a similar pattern week to week for that. And then one of the things I wanted to highlight back on this course was, because we've got students who are in instructional design and technology, but then some of them are K-12 teachers taking this program or taking this course as part of their credit. And so I knew that a lot of these students, after they left this course, they would lose access to the content they created. And so one comment that wasn't on here, but something that I kept thinking about is one student's like, well, it was great to create this content, but I never, lost my train of thought there for a second. It was great to create all this content, but after the class, it's like, I have no use for it, right? Because I don't have an LMS that can host this or utilize it. So that was another reason why I really did the research and trying to find, bare bones, what does someone need to self-host their H5P? Trying to make sure that anyone who wants to utilize this tool has those capabilities. So one question is, how is this different from the form? I don't think there's much of a difference. All I'm using is they're using the discussion form, but I'm also having them create H5P to add to their discussion form. So they're actually adding content in their discussion form to then that becomes the focus of their discussion. And I've been able to utilize that with the glossary. I know the workshop and the assignment, they don't allow you to embed in the same way. So I know those ones don't work as well, but definitely glossary and form I've found success in. Another question, do you run into the issue of not all H5P content being accessible to screen readers, etc.? We are required to make all our Moodle activities accessible to screen readers and alike. H5P does lay out, they have their one page that lets out, which content type is accessible and non. Again, I think that's more of a conversation for you and your students, especially when you're talking about designing content, because again, we want to get to that point that you're creating content that everyone can enjoy. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm thinking about, especially if you've got students who need accommodations, who are taking the class and are expected to create content. That's something I haven't quite explored yet. But yeah, that's really the top level information. This is a great time for any additional questions, comments, anything you want to look into a little bit deeper. We have time for that. But yeah, the rest of the time is yours to ask me any questions or comments. And I'll be monitoring the chat, or you can uncheck your mic and also speak as well. All right, so question, what would be a good resource to start learning how to really create these activities? So h5p.org is going to be, that's my recommendation for your go-to. They're going to have examples of the different H5P, and I can probably showcase that as well. So I'm going to go to h5p.org. So you've got your examples and downloads here. So that's going to show you the wide library that they have. You've got your documentation here, and I believe it is author. Tutorials for authors. And again, this is going to give you, so if there's a specific content type that you're looking for, so we'll use the arithmetic quiz for now. This is going to give you the step-by-step instructions that you need if you're just starting with scratch and you're not sure how to navigate the software itself. I definitely recommend using their documentation they've created, and I found it to be very helpful when I'm learning a new content type. As far as accommodation standards, I know that they have, I think it's under documentation. Content type accessibility. This is the page I was referring to earlier. Let's see if I can. That talks about the different, and they try to let you know. And I know I've talked to other professionals in this area, and they say that some of these don't really. So, I mean, I'm not the expert as far as that goes. I just go with what's been documented and then go from my own personal experience, but that's something to investigate for you for sure. I'm doing a little bit of the legwork that way. Another question, what happens when I choose H5P as an activity in Moodle? Am I going to see when I make the selection? So let's see, I'm trying to remember. I still have. Okay, so I don't have the plugin. So what I'll just be using the H5P example as well. So with the integration, and I think I put it in this course. So and let me know if I'm missing the mark. on the question if I'm not answering it correctly. So add an activity or resource, and then there's your H5P activity, and I'll just add a new test. So ideally, what this is this is just kind of a placeholder, right? So really, before you even get to this point of creating your H5P, you're going to be doing that in the content bank and creating and adding your content. You can even, like if you're using Lumi Education, I've done this quite a bit. I'll make something offline and then I can easily upload it into Moodle and into the course. But you're going to create it in here first, and then in that H5P activity, you'll have that package file or file picker option to then grab the activity and put it into your Moodle site. And then I guess you had a second part of that question. What am I going to see when I make the selection? So going back to the content bank, so they've got their wide library, this drop-down list, and it is going to be different depending on the content type. So like, again, accordion is the most simple one. So you can see you've got a title here. And then for the first panel, I can just call this science, and then this is going to be water cycle, and then I can get more in detail of what that water cycle is, right? And then I can add additional panels to that accordion. Now, if I do say the one of the more complex ones, like let's jump down to virtual tour. So this one is a little bit different because I've got my title, but then I need to provide a virtual environment. So if you, in this case, if I have a 360 panorama camera or a picture and upload that there, and then from that picture, I can add different questions, content types to it. So it's going to be very different from, say, the accordion. Another question, can you create custom activity templates that reside in Moodle that provide consistent graphic look fill across all object types? As far as I know, you can't make a template, but all the H5P is going to be in a similar look and feel, because that's the one thing when you're using the integration option, even though it's HTML5, there's not a way to go into like the source code and change the font type or things like that. As far as I know, it's very simple that way. If I go to, let's see if I've got it. I'll just use the book as an example. So again, this one, this is an image, so that's probably why that one might look different from the others. If I go next, they're all going to have kind of this similar feel of you've got your content up here and then your ability to check, retry, so show solution. Here's another one that is the sequencing one. So yeah, I don't think there's much of a template that you can modify. If you have a background image, you can use that as a background for your H5P content types. Okay, I think and feel free to let me know if I missed the mark on any of your questions. Yep, thank you, Adam. Not really a template, but it does keep things consistent. Because I know, like, just that remind me, I think there is a kind of similar to the Moodle lesson tool. There is, I think it is presentation. But yeah, that one kind of similar to a Google slide. You're able to add a background image, and definitely with those ones you can customize a little bit more, but again, they're going to be more of that same look and feel across the board. One of the things, let me go ahead and highlight in case there's more questions coming in. So again, you're going to have this presentation in Moodle. I've also got the QR code if you grab that real quick with your phone. But at the very first of the presentation, where my name is, that will take you to my online card. And so any additional questions that come up that you didn't have a chance to ask me, you can feel free to contact me here. Feel free, email is going to be the best one to contact me, but I've also got my other social media outlets that you can follow me on as well. And if there's anything in this presentation that's inspired you to adapt and use it in your own institution, your own environment, feel free to keep me in the loop. I did a similar presentation like this for the UK Moot last year, and Gavin let me know that someone did something similar, and it was just felt really good, right? So definitely, if you are utilizing this, feel free to keep me, because I definitely love to see what you guys are doing and definitely bounce ideas off. I mean, that's the whole point of the MtMoot conference and sharing ideas. So yeah. All right, everyone is free to go, because again, I'll stay on for the remainder of the time in case more questions come up, but definitely feel free to go and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thanks, Lance. That was really good. I was really looking forward to this session because I'm trying to get into H5P creation. I have a different role than you. I'm a learning and development specialist. I'm an instructional designer. I'm actually doing my thesis right now on my master's for distance ed. But so I work in industry, not in post-secondary. But we have Moodle. We're upgrading to Moodle Workplace right away because we're doing some client. I'm on a huge client training project for software development. So I'm really interested in H5P and creating some more interaction, getting that engagement, retention of learning, all those, buzzwords. So yeah, this was really interesting. it's hard to wrap my head around it because, typically in Moodle, you can just create the activities right in Moodle. And this is a little bit different, right? You have to create it outside and then upload it like you were to be embedding, like I'd embed videos and things like that. It's kind of like that, right?
Right, and just to clarify, with the Moodle 3.9 and above.
Yeah, we have 3, 10, or 11.
Okay, perfect. So you'll have the content bank. So as I mentioned, you can upload content, but from here, that drop down allows me to create it right in Moodle.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Think of it similar to like the quiz and the question bank. It's kind of a similar relationship to that, where I'm creating my content in the content bank, and then I'm linking it into a specific activity, or whether that's the H5P activity itself or into like a Moodle lesson or book.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. I even enrolled myself, and we have Udemy for business. And so I found an H5P course. But I am so busy. Like I'm doing my master's right now. You know how it is. Like, I'm just like, I don't know if I can do another course. Like, I just want someone to like hold my hand and get me through this dang thing. Like, so, and I did like go through and, so I'm just going to look here for a second. So if anybody else is anybody else on here? Am I taking up anybody's time if they have any questions for you? So when we go into the content bank, show me again where that content, I'm in my Moodle right now. Where is that content bank?
Your content bank is going to be in the navigation.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay.
Right, so
Okay, and so then I would I click on add. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I get to play. Okay.
Oh yeah. The goal of mine is to give you enough information to be dangerous. So hopefully
Exactly.
that.
So Lance and Susan, this is Adam Young. I work for the Department of Justice Motor Vehicle Division here in the state of Montana. We ended up using Moodle as well for all of the staff training to get them ready to adopt a new system. And we were able to get the H5P plugin. And so with a plugin, you can do it right in Moodle as well. You don't have to go to the content library is what that is, or content bank,
Yeah.
like you're demonstrating here. So if you have the plugin, you could do it right in there as well. And we use presentations, hotspots, branching scenarios, interactive videos, all that sort of stuff too with all of our training. It's fairly simple.
I will add to that too, something to be aware of, because I'm not sure where the fork in the road is, but I know like with the H5P plugin, that one, I think it's who's developing it, right? So I know that one is the H5P team. And that one eventually at some point should have H5P's OER hub or H5P hub built into the plugin. So that one will make it more easy to pull content that someone else has created.
Exactly.
And using the plugin, you'll be able to put that in. I don't think the integrated 3.9 plus method has the hub. I don't know if there's any roadmap to integrate that piece in, but the plugin does have some benefits that way as well.
Yeah, see, we're in Moodle Cloud, and Moodle Cloud it only has like 5 specific plugins, and that's it. You don't get any extra. So that's one of the reasons why we're moving to Moodle Workplace, so that we have access to all those different plugins. But thank you very much, Adam, because I'll look into that when we're just dealing with the vendor right now to get the Workplace installed. And then I'm excited to play with all the plugins.
You bet. And Susan, I'm going to put my email in the chat. If you wanted to reach out, I'll be able to help you out.
Perfect. Great. And Lance, I added you on LinkedIn. You have to accept me, of course. But thank you very much. This was my session I was most excited about. So
I was exactly where you were at last year, Susan.
Perfect. Okay, well then maybe I'll be an expert next year. We'll see. Who knows? I just have to get through writing this thesis.
Yeah, me and 2 other training development specialists ended up making about 70 or 80 courses in Moodle over this last 18 months.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. That's awesome. Great. Okay, I have added you on email. Great. Well, like I said, super informative and much appreciated. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm in Canada, by the way. So, and we're in a heat wave here too, amazingly enough. And Adam, didn't you say you were in Montana?
Yeah, I'm in Montana, so I'm just south of you.
Yeah, it's hot there too. And isn't there fires everywhere?
Yeah, I think we've got 12 or 15 fires going in our state alone.
See, we don't have fires here, but we're getting all the smoke from your fires
Well, that's
as well. It just
we can't control the wind.
No, it's crazy. Well, you stay safe, and it was great meeting you guys. And I'll reach out for sure, Adam. And yeah, Lance, like I said, I added you on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, you guys.
All right, thanks.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good one, Lance. I'm going to drop off as well.
Thank you. So what's my favorite H5P type? That's a hard one because there are so many different ones. For a while there, I really liked the virtual tour because it did something that I wasn't able to do by myself. Because I mean, I'm not a developer. I'm not, I'm not rich. I don't get the programs that can do this. So seeing H5P, that one was my favorite for a good time, and seeing, what could I do with my phone to create one. And I'm trying to remember where I stored, do I have it in the course? Wasn't in that one. But I created a virtual tour of our lab, and I was trying to get it published, but it was before I ran into the self-hosting, because one of the things to be aware of when you post H5P on a Moodle course and it's set up to be private, you need a password. You actually can't embed that content outside of Moodle. It will essentially lock it out. So I first attempted that, but then I found that self-hosting. So that's a way for me to post content that I want. But yeah, that was one of the big ones, was the virtual tour or 360-degree tour. And I was working with a faculty member who's a firefighter, and we talked about potentially, capturing a building structure, then having him point out different areas of that room to kind of look at as far as from a firefighter's perspective. Yeah.
So would that work kind of like ThingLink?
Maybe. I'm not familiar with ThingLink.
It's totally cool. You should see it.
I'll definitely check it out. ThingLink.
So it's basically hotspots on an image.
Okay. Yeah, that's similar to the 360 tour.
And in each hotspot, you can put anything you want in a hotspot. You can put a video, you can put text, you can put links. They're very cool. I've seen it used to like annotate an article or annotate an infographic. Actually, it's very meta.
Yeah, so it's assembly to this because you've got your hotspots, and then this one's an image, but you can do video and audio. And so yeah, I'll check out ThingLink as another.
Yeah, I think you'll like it as a tool.
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of faculty really like the interactive video one. That's a pretty popular one, because we've had so many faculty who want students to like watch the video and then verify that they're watching the video right, that they're not just like clicking it and then walking away. So asking questions during the video. So I've seen that one used quite a bit. I really like the example of the branching scenario in H5P. Let me go back to, because that one they actually do integrate video and do a case study. And it's very much a choose your own adventure, right? So this is in this one, you're a social worker type person. And then based on how you answer questions, you either get kicked out or you further along the conversation with the client. And I mean, that one takes a lot more time because you're developing video. But yeah, anything video related, I'm tend to be drawn to.
Cool.
All right, I think our time is officially up. I will see you guys in other sessions of the conference.